Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mr. Cullen, and it is noon on your snow day, Wednesday the 5th. I'm currently sitting at my kitchen table with my 10-month-old Quinn. He is eating lunch. So if you hear a scream or a holler or a coo or one of those things, you'll know that it's just him and he's eating lunch, so don't worry about him. But hey, I wanted to get this next lesson uploaded for you here so that while you're on your snow day, you'll have something to do, because what else would you rather do on your snow day than watch a little math video? So, have your calculator handy. What is the square root of 100? Well, you probably all know that to be 10. Okay? But the next question I want to ask you is, what is 100 to the 1/2 power? Well, if you grab your calculator and you put in 100 and then hit your little caret sign, and then you open up parentheses and put 1 divided by 2, these would be your calculator strokes, and you hit enter, you will also get 10, which is interesting because that's what the square root of 100 is. So these are two equal things in different forms. Okay? The first form that we have here, let me go a little smaller here. This form is called, there we go. This form is called radical form, okay, because there's a radical, a square root sign. The other form, the second one there, which you're probably not quite as familiar with, is called exponential form because there is an exponent, okay? So that's what we're going to be dealing with here is radical form versus exponential form. What you need to know is that they actually are equal to each other, just different forms. So the next question I have here is, what is the square root of 5x in exponential form? Well, if I go back up here, I want you to first of all recognize that even though there is not a 2 right here, anytime you have a square root or a radical, it really is the second root of 100, even though the 2 isn't written. Okay? So, if I'm looking at the second root of 5x, well, that would simply be 5x to the 1/2 power. Okay? I changed that to exponential form from radical form. Okay? Likewise, if I asked you what would x to the 1/2 power be in radical form, well, I have the variable, which is right there underneath the 1/2, the exponent of 1/2. The radical form of that would be the square root of x. So what I want you to gather from this slide is that basically a square root and something to the 1/2 power are the same thing. Okay? So let's jump to the next slide. What about the third root of a number? Okay? Well, if you grab your calculator and you do the third root of 64, and if you don't know how to do the third root, we'll go over that in class, but the third root of 64 is 4. Okay? Which is basically the opposite of saying 4 to the third power. Okay, 4 to the third power is 64. The third root of 64 is 4. Now that's just a calculator thing. We can talk about that in class tomorrow. We also want to know, though, what... Oh, Quinn's chiming in here. The other thing we want to know here, though, is what is 64 to the 1/3 power? So if you take 64 in your calculator and you do the little caret and then you do 1/3 in parentheses, it's also going to give you 4. So kind of like on the previous slide where the square root of a number was equal to that number to the 1/2 power, the third root of a number is the same thing as that number to the 1/3 power. Okay? So, here we go. What would the third root of 10x be in exponential form? Well, you take whatever the number is under the radical, in this case 10x, and raise it to the 1/3 power. Okay, a third root is going to mean that we're going to have a 1/3 power. All right, cool. So what would x to the 1/4 be in radical form? Well, the x is going to be under the radical, but because this bottom number is a 4, that means it's going to be the 4th root of x. Okay, so a 4th root of a number would be the same thing as that number to the 1/4 power. The third root of a number is the same thing as that number to the 1/3 power. Okay? All right. Now we got a couple more of these. Now this looks a little bit more complicated, but let's just consider what we just got done doing. Okay? Pause this for a quick second. I gotta blow Quinn's nose, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so sorry about that. Now I'm back. So here's the thing. If I have the 4th root of 6 raised to the 3rd power, the whole thing to the 3rd power, really what I need to do here is I need to take whatever is under the radical, and then with this number and this number, I'm going to make a fraction. Okay? So if I do the 3 over the 4, sorry about that, let me undo that, 3 over the 4, notice that that is the same thing that I have over here. And these are equivalent forms. Okay? So basically the idea is if you have a root of a number that is then raised to a power, you can just make a fraction with the exponent over the power. Okay? Let me just type that in here. That's probably something good to write down here. Is that the fraction is made, let me change that. Yeah. Well, no, that's good. The fraction is made by the exponent over the root. If I can type, that would be great. Why is that going? Let's do it this way. And then if I jump down here, root. Okay. Okay. So let me finish this up here real quick before Quinn flips out on me. Let's say I have the 5th root of 5x to the 4th power. I'm going to start by putting the 5x because that's what's under the radical. And then if I use the exponent over the root, that's going to give me my exponential form. Okay? The reverse of that would be to say, okay, when I have the exponential form and I'm trying to put it in a radical form, I put whatever is in the parentheses, in this case negative 2x under the radical. The bottom part of the fraction, in this case this 3 down here, the bottom part of your fraction that's in the exponent, if you go back to the previous example and you look at how this 5 was in front of the radical, the bottom part of the fraction is what goes in front of the radical, the root, so to speak. And the top part of the fraction, in this case the 7, becomes the exponent. So the bottom line is this. The root of a radical is the bottom part of the fraction in the exponent. The root is the bottom part of the fraction. Okay? That's about the simplest form I can make that. You know, we'll go over some of these in class. You'll have some practice to do in class. Hopefully you took some good notes on this. I'm going to have a couple more videos put up here today, but all I really count on you for tomorrow is to have this video watched with some notes in place so you can do some practice. Have a good rest of your snow day, but make sure you watch this. Please, please take some notes. We'll get it going tomorrow in class. Thanks.